So I totally like jump scared myself, by the way. I have a new keyboard, so I'm still kind of getting used to it. And I like pressed a button, like just testing sound and whatnot. And it like sped through like some scenes and then suddenly got to this really scary looking scene. And it like was really loud. I'm like, oh. Alright, I think we have like 2 hours left of this. So we're gonna try to do some more of this. The final arc, which is this one. Yes.
まさかそなたまでも返り討ちとはな。
And hopefully this isn't too loud. If I can remember correctly. Where it's supposed to be. I think this is fine. Oh, dear God. I hope this is fine. Okay. I didn't expect for you to fall as well.
だがそなたのいやそなたらすべてのススと無念は我に受け継がれた。
But I have inherited all of your soot and resentment. Once 4 of them had sat in the desolate doll memorial hall. Now only one was left. It symbolizes how Suzumu has foiled his assailants at every turn. It was also a symbol of how the divided soot had now gathered as one. The soot not only symbolized the curse, it made its manifestation even stronger. She heaved a sigh. Oh, this is what I saw. You'll see in a second. It was heavy and full of malediction. That act alone burst several doll heads. Yeah, this is what I saw. Like, oh. She slowly stood up and opened her eyes. Oh, hold on. Is this gonna break anything? There we go. Okay. She slowly stood up and opened her eyes. That act alone created thunder and robbed the sky of its brilliance. She was a little angry.
十分なすす、十分な呪い、十分な力。
I gathered enough soot, enough of the curse, enough power.
無論、十分な災厄を起こせるやもしれぬが。
I could easily bring about a befitting calamity as I am now, naturally.
妹たちをことごとく返り討ちとしたあやつめを無視することはできぬな。
However, I cannot disregard that man-demon who defeated my sisters at every turn.
あれのすすをすすろうぞ。
I shall drink his soot.
そしてこの力をも超える呪いにてこの地に災いを。
And then I shall bring a calamity onto this land with a curse all the blacker than I could wreck now. Oh, she mad. She's all mad. I felt the unease, the pain of another boulder in my stomach. My stomach was flat to the touch, but I felt swollen to the point of bursting at the seams. I've suffered discomfort from this sensation before, but this was completely different. The boulders felt like they were gathering together and attempting to rupture my stomach from the inside out. It was pure agony. I suddenly keeled over and vomited. Sorry. The moment I threw up, the boulders felt like they were stacking up even higher inside me. I heaved over and over again, but nothing came out. But the tearing pain in my stomach refused to leave. Is this my limit? I didn't know if I could take any more. Was this not the pain my ancestors had endured this past millennium? But this level of agony must have been the pain of the mother of the quintuplets had felt. The soot within me was trying to break the seal and burst free of its containment. My face was clammy with sweat, yet I rose to my feet. I could still hold out for a little while longer. I still dreamed of a miracle, too. I believe that if I can endure but one more day, salvation would arrive. A splittering pain shot through my body. This was it for me. The bell from the main hall flashed through my mind. Right, now was the time to do as my mother's will said. I would meet my end in that cold bronze bell.
黒髪さんを助け出すって。約束するよ。
I still promise I'll break that thing and save you. You can count on it. I glimpsed a blurry memory of a scene I'd either never witnessed or forgotten so completely that it seemed utterly foreign to me. No one could possibly break that cold bell, that fate that had served as a trigger for 1,000 years of suffering.
やってみなきゃわからないよ。
I won't know unless I try. Susahara had said that as though it was nothing.
木すら倒せぬお前に聖堂の壁が打ち破れるか。
Can someone who can't even knock over a tree break? Something made of bronze?
聖
That
堂
was a weird sentence. I think I read that wrong. Bronze? How thick are we talking?
さあ、お前の拳の幅くらいはあるかもな。
Who knows? Perhaps as thick as your fist?
さすがに無理だよ。そんな厚さの合金の壁を破るなんて。拳じゃなくて大砲の出番だと思うな。
I definitely couldn't pull that off. That sounds like a job for a cannon. I knew it. Susahara couldn't save me.
でも
However, my heart dared to skip a beat. My eyes found their way to Susahara's, and I breathed in. His expression was serene as a tranquil lake. His gaze was wholeheartedly sincere.
黒髪さんがそれを打ち破られることで救われるなら、
Breaking that will save you? Then
僕はもっと修行を積んで、
I'll train some more.
いつか必ずそれを僕の拳で打ち破ってみせると約束するよ。
And I'll break that thing with my fist someday. I swear it. Was he serious? At that moment, I saw it. The glint in his eyes wasn't that of a deluded human who possessed no foresight whatsoever. He burned a divine scarlet glow, one I'd never seen before. So he truly was Mutsu. I'd known from the moment I saw him. And then, cursing my body that bore too much soot for us to be together, I screamed that it was all too late. 10 years too late, 100 years too late, 1,000 years too late. The Mutsu had come back to me after a millennium. That was a miracle in and of itself. Oh, of course, so my miracle had already been used up. Then I really was the last one. I could mark the end to the 1,000 years of suffering. We might have been too late, but I was glad I'd been granted the miracle of Mutsu's return. You're too late, Suzumu Suzuhara. You're 10 years too late, 100 years too late, 1,000 years too late. Why didn't you save me back then? You're too late. You're too late.
10年遅い。100年遅い。1000年遅い。
You're 10 years too late, 100 years too late, 1,000 years too late. Ha 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 ha.
やってみなきゃわからないよ。
I won't know unless I try. Suzuhara didn't hesitate a moment. He interrupted my bitter ramblings with a warm smile.
僕はもっと修行を積んで、
I'll train some more.
いつか必ず
Okay, are we just
それを
repeating?
僕の拳で打ち破ってみせると
I feel like we're in a time loop
約
here.
束するよ。
And break that thing with my fist someday. I swear it.
その修行、どれだけかかるやら。
And how long do you think that will take? What's bigger than 10,000? Wait. Never
そう
mind.
だね。その意味では確かに黒髪さんの言う通りだね。遅すぎる。
Good question. In that sense, it may be too late, just as you
10
said.
年、100年、いや、1000年は修行しないとダメかもしれないよ。
10, 100, no, even 1,000 years might not be enough.
でも、
But even so,
それでも僕が必ずそれを打ち破って黒髪さんを助け出すって約束するよ。
I'm gonna break that thing and save you. I promise. As if I had 1,000 years to wait for his training. But his valiant declaration warmed my heart. Doki doki. There was a violent flash in the sky, followed by thunder loud enough to strip the bark off a withered tree. Even those indoors cowered in fear. However, Suzumu continued training without batting an eye. Something felt strange about his punches today. The sensation was different, and the more he punched, the surer he became that he was on the verge of some kind of breakthrough. That certainty filled his heart with an odd sense of elation as he sensed he could reach a level never before attained. That feeling only grew stronger with every punch, and so he didn't even register the thunder. Not even the cold downpour could dull his mind. He shook off his rain. He shook off the rain as his punches grew more and more precise. Though the storm was chilling his shoulders, his body was blazing hot from the inside out. Steam faintly rose from his collar and cuffs. It was an awe-inspiring sight, like he was ascending to some sort of divine realm. And in fact, that was what he was trying to achieve. An outsider might find that hard to believe with a boy so young. But his training, no, not just his ancestors' 1,000 years of training, the long discipline that has begun with Mutsu's promise, was on the verge of reaching fruition. Suzumu could feel that in his fist. 3 times had the curse festered, and his friend's mental trauma targeted him, and 3 times he had emerged victorious. Of course, there was nothing compared to the curse that dwelled within Toé. In hindsight, perhaps they'd all simply been weak. But they were all part of the divine curse regardless, and Suzumu had destroyed all 3 of them. We did. It took us like a year, but we did. During his 3rd victory, Suzumu had felt a different sensation than before, and ever since then, the more he trained, the closer he could sense himself approaching the realm of the gods. It wouldn't be long until he reached it. The roar of the rain grew stronger, resembling a waterfall. Eventually, Suzumu began to feel like he was really punching the cliffs behind a waterfall. Wah! Just then, he noticed the heavens were shining bright. A light shone through the clouds as though from the top of a faraway waterfall. It bore a dignified divine presence as it mixed with waterfall's sprays, creating a rainbow. A booming voice echoed from far beyond that brilliance. Suzumu knew then and there that it was the god to whom the fist of the Suzahara divine tributes had always been dedicated. That voice was gentle and clear, with a solemnity and grandeur that could only belong to a deity. I am Rokugami Hiko no Himikoto.
Mutsu, yokuzo kono sennen. Ware ni sono kobushi o houji tsuzuketa.
Oh, Mutsu, you have toiled hard to dedicate that fist to me for 1,000 years.
Do I sound like a god deity? Probably not.
I shall endow that fist with a miracle here and now, just as you had wished. But be warned. A miracle granted by a god is far too powerful for a human body to withstand. Should you bring about this miracle with that fragile vessel of yours? Even I cannot vouchsafe that you shall survive. These 1,000 years must have been sufficient for you. I talk very slow. You have had time to mend your resentment and rage, along with the pain of your blighted love, or else to lose them all in the seas of oblivion. So you are not obligated to seek of me this miracle. But the strength to keep on living is a noble power greater than any miracle man seeks. No.
彼女の 彼女たちの苦しみを終わらせるためだけに今日までの日々があったのです。
Everything up to this day has been to bring her. No. They are suffering. Suffering. To an end.
彼女たちは今日まで呪いを封じ続けるためだけに命を1000年もの間捧げ続けてきたのです。
They have devoted their lives for the past 1,000 years solely to keeping the seal,
それを
the
終わら
curse
せること
sealed.
が僕の身一つを捧げるだけで叶うのならば
If my body is the only price that must be paid to bring an end to that,
喜んでこの拳にて奇跡を起こして立てまつりまする。
then I will gladly bring about a miracle with this fist.
そう言うだろう
That's right, you save all the
と思っ
ladies.
ていた。
That is precisely what I expected to hear.
その覚悟に揺るぎがないこと確かに見届けたぞ。
I have borne witness to the unyielding strength of your resolve.
よかろう。そなたの拳に奇跡の力与えようぞ。
Very well, I shall bestow the power of miracles onto your fist.
だが神が奇跡を起こせば一つの歯車の動きが別の歯車を動かすように。
But as the turn of a gear compels another, so shall this miracle brought forth by a god.
神の呪いもまた権限する。
Bring forth the divine curse in
そ
turn.
の奇跡を拳に宿したならもはや一刻の猶予もないぞ。
If that miracle dwells in your fist, then you haven't a moment to spare.
奇跡を起こすならいっそ
If you are to bring about a miracle, you must make haste. Well, stop talking.
One moment.
Okay, sorry. I heard a weird noise. I just had to make sure. Suzumu, Suzumu. Oh. It's you. Suzumu, hang in there. Ugh,
キコちゃん
Kiko.
いつから倒れてたの？雨でぐっしょりじゃない。
Are you okay? How long have you been lying in the rain? You're totally soaked.
雨
Rain? I came to lying face up on the ground, rain pouring on my face as I looked up at the sky. You could have drowned. Suzumu. Kiku was making a fuss about me catching a cold or getting struck by lightning, but none of that concerned me. I felt I made an important decision in my dream, though I lost all memory of it when I woke up. I knew it was a momentous decision I made on my own will, one that would dictate my fate. That conviction resided in my heart, blazing quietly but fiercely. The heat was intense, like a tiny spear of scorched iron had bored itself into my chest.
熱あるよ。やっぱり風邪をひいちゃったんだよ。
You're burning up. You really did catch a cold.
熱は感じる。
You're right. I am.
でも心配しないで。風邪とかじゃないから。
Don't worry. I'm perfectly fine.
本当に大丈夫なの？
Sure you're okay?
心配かけてごめんね。
Yeah, sorry to worry you.
シャワー浴びて着替えてくるね。
I'm gonna take a shower and get changed.
進む。
Sumu? I could feel a ball of heat burning in my chest. Though it was blazing hot, it brought no pain or discomfort. Slowly but surely, I could feel it spreading through my blood vessels and into my fist. Though I couldn't remember what my dream was about, I knew this had to be a divine inspiration. It wasn't arrogance or hubris speaking, purely conviction.
God, what a badass.
父さん、
Dad.
僕は
Oh, the music's playing.
鈴原流親善武術を
I've now perfected
完成させたよ。
Suzahara divine tribute style. The heat in my chest didn't cool even after I went to bed. Quite the opposite. It grew hotter and hotter, continued surging into my fists. I had countless dreams in my slumber. They were our memories of the past 1,000 years. Oh! The memories of Mutsu who dedicated his life to training under a waterfall in order to bring about the miracle of crushing unjust malice and demonstrating the righteous path. Eventually, that will was condensed into a single word. Hachiakinsho. Crush evil and demonstrate the righteous path. In order to crush the unjust evil of that curse, she and her descendants have been forced to bear and demonstrate the righteous path forward. Mutsu's descendants grew up witnessing his dedication and training and inherited it from him in turn. In order to obtain the fist to crush evil and demonstrate the righteous path, in order to keep the promise of dedicating it to God for 1,000 years, the faces of my ancestors that upheld that oath passed by one after another. Hundreds of years flew by in the blink of an eye. As time passed, the ultimate objective behind the divine tribute style was eventually forgotten. But in spite of that, Mutsu's conviction held true, and his descendants continued to dedicate their fists to God with fervor. The memories of my great-grandfather, grandfather, and father, along with the noble training they accumulated, flooded into me like a raging stream. And now the time has come. Finally, after 1,000 years, the miracle Mutsu had desired had finally arrived. The will of my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and the one who started it all, Mutsu, coursed through me. Like Deku, but with like family. Suzumu, I'll save you. Suzumu. Get out of my way. I won't let you stop me. I do not remember how I voice these people. Just pin him down. Kill him if you have to. Eek, it's a demon. Do not falter. Just lower the bell. Suzume. Ah! Oh, he punched it. No miracle had dwelled in Mutsu's fist back then, but he wished for it won, even if it would take 1,000 years to arrive. And I would see it through. I would put an end to this. Punch a bell. I would save Susanome and her daughters. Kurokami. I swear I will save you. Maybe. The next day I was still partially in a dream after waking up. I could remember last night's dream as clear as day, as though it had been etched into my soul. The flame in my chest grew warmer, my fists were burning with scorching heat. But this wasn't enough. The heat would keep growing stronger and feeding the flames in my fists. God's miracle needed some time to settle in a human body. But I could tell that wouldn't take long. Soon the time came to leave. I decided to go to school. Why? That way I could see Kurokami. Ah, okay. I wanted to let her know she'd soon be released from the suffering of the curse. She was going to be like, oh. A ray of hope would be just what she needed right now. I need her to know as soon as possible.
進む。やっぱり熱があると思うよ。
Oh, I need water for you. Hold on.
Suzumu, I really do think you've got a fever.
ちょっと微熱っぽいけどね。でも全然大丈夫だよ。
I'm a little warm, but I'm completely fine.
無理しないで。今日はお休みしたら You shouldn't push yourself. Why don't you take the day off?
そういうわけにはいかないよ。僕も皆勤賞を狙ってるからね。
I can't afford to do that. I'm aiming for perfect attendance too. God, not only is he a badass who punches trees, he's got perfect attendance too. What a man.
具合が悪くなっても I don't know だからね。Well, don't say I didn't tell you. So if you got worse, okay?
Kurokami wasn't there. Okay.
黒髪今日はまだ来てないな。
Kurokami? She's not here yet.
あいつは遅刻も欠席もグレートに気まぐれなやつだからな。
She comes in whenever she wants to. Man, wouldn't it be great if we had that luxury?
黒
Yeah.
髪さんに何か用事でもあったの？
Do you need something from her?
ちょっと伝えたいことがあって。
Sort of. I just want to tell her
待
something.
ってたら来るんじゃない？午後とか、あるいは部活とかに。
She might be here for afternoon classes or club.
さすがグレート黒髪。優雅なご投稿だね。
That's the great Kurokami for you, passing through like a spring breeze. Oh boy.
I was trying everything in my power to go to school. I could tell my end was near, so I wanted to see Suzumu's face. Once I did and confirmed no miracle would arrive, I could leave without any regrets. So I fought against the nigh unbearable agony in my stomach as I struggled to walk. Pain noises.
トエさん、大丈夫か？
Toé, daijoubu.
ひ
Are
どい
you
熱だ。
alright?
誰か社務所に伝えてくれ。
Oh, what a horrible fever. Someone tell the priest.
Have to go to school?
そんな高熱じゃ無理だ。あんたの家系は特に体が弱いんだから。
You can't.
大事にしなきゃ。
Not when your fever's that high. You know how frail your family is, so you must take care of yourself.
I could faintly hear the shrine staff come out of the office and encircle me, asking if I was all right. But my mind was being dragged into another haunting's daydream. Oh.
早くお嬢様を母屋に。早く早く。
Bring Toé to the manor! Quickly now, quickly! Let me go. Let me go. I had to see Mutsu, Suzumu. Oh, poor Toé. I was probably brought back to my room. Having spent most of my life in nightmares since the haunting started plaguing me, I could tell by the sensations, though I perceived them as something else entirely. I was lying in a room lined with countless red candles. They were all sticking out from severed hands used as candlesticks. The fingers twitched from time to time. They hadn't been severed for long, apparently. And hanging from the ceiling like laundry was a gallery of twitching human-shaped lumps that severed hands and peeled off skin rendered them unidentifiable as male or female. Of course, I didn't let sights like these bother me. All I had to do was imagine I was watching some horror movie I'd been dragged along to see. Once I learned how to freeze my heart over with apathy, I could last through any number of hauntings. Even here, the agony in my stomach was as merciless as ever. I endured the pain and nausea welling up in my throat as I suddenly got up. I knocked over several hands and candles in the process, but paid them no heed. Despite what I saw, I was confident this was my room. If I let everything I saw in this distorted world get to me, that would just thrill the evil spirits behind this haunting. Of course, it was very difficult to ignore everything my senses told me, and I could never get used to it. The whole thing was pure torture. I'd probably been changed into my night clothes, so I took a school uniform made of bloodstained human skin out of my closet of dangling bodies and got dressed. I staggered with agony to the lattice door fastened with entrails, probably the sliding door, and left the room. Everything else in the world appeared that way too, and this was how things were with my doll on me. I shuddered to imagine how they'd look if I dropped it. I made my way to school on unsteady feet. I walked through the Iwaimoto shopping district among rows of headless corpses pierced upside down by iron skewers. Just then, a breeze caressed my hair. At that moment, the repugnant world faded with a melted snow and returned to the world I knew so well. I must have finally regained my sanity. I checked myself in the window of a nearby clock store and discovered that while I had managed to put my uniform on, it was all disordered, like I'd put it on while I was still waking up. I was already used to this by now, so I made the necessary adjustments, then and there, without any fuss. I took a look at the clock in the store and realized that the hands were already well past noon. At that time, I spent that abhorrent world of meat and blood, just staggering my way towards school and taken 6 hours in the real world. Oh God. The time I spent sane was limited, while the time I spent in nightmares was so long, yet over in a flash. That was my life. Ugh. The curse was hardening into stones and filling my stomach. That had to be what this was. Every time I moved, I felt them roll around, tearing through my stomach and trying to break loose. Can I even make it to school? The moment I thought that signaled my end had all but come. Once I resumed my faltering march, the crowds cleared the way for me as though nothing were unusual. The whole town was already used to seeing me like this. No one knew I was protecting this land by suffering from hellish nightmares day after day. And in these 1,000 years, no one had thanked me, thanked us. Yet even in spite of that, we continued to sacrifice our lives to keep this curse sealed. Though we weren't doing it for honor or gratitude, this is merely the fate that we'd all been handed these past 1,000 years. I was protecting this gentle and peaceful world, knowing that was our one and only source of pride. It was our duty to protect these children's smiles. When I thought of it that way, I realized just how much of a reward Mutsu Suzuhara's arrival was after a millennium of torment. Indeed, that was the miracle we've been handed for enduring the last 1,000 years. So no one hold out hope for another one ever again. I no longer had any reason to believe I'd ever been released from my suffering. As such, I stopped wishing for a miracle. All I wanted was to go to Suzuhara and see Mutsu's face one last time. That was all I asked for. Then I could meet my end. The world was distorting again. Iwaimoto shopping district was transforming into that nightmare world once more. Countless eerie insects gushed out from the shadows and devoured the scenery. They were clambering over to my feet one after another, and so I froze my disgust, my heart, yet again. That sucks. Ooh. Where are we at? Okay. School has ended, yet Kurokami never showed up. However, there was a chance she'd appear at the LLCSC, so I decided to bet on that chance and go to the club room. But the heat in my chest had grown so hot that it was making me dizzy. I knew this wasn't due to a fever, but it felt very similar to one. The power of a miracle was beyond a human body to begin with. Perhaps my body was screaming from the effort of trying to obtain it.
無理しないで帰んなよ。
You should just go home and rest. Don't strain yourself.
私もずっとそう言ってるんですけど、頑固で。I keep telling him that, but he's as stubborn as a mule.
別に部活はサボっても皆勤賞には響かないと思うぜ。
Seriously, man, I don't think skipping club is gonna affect your attendance record, you know?
そうかもね。
Maybe you're right.
黒髪さんに伝言があるなら、私が会った時に言っておくよ。
If you need to tell Kurokami something, I can pass on your message for you.
タマユンに頼めば？よくクロッチに電話してるそうだし。
Why not ask Maryuhin? She calls Kuroki all the time.
そうだね。
That's true.
今日来ないならそうしようかな。
If she doesn't come by today, maybe I'll do that.
おいおい、フラフラだぜ。無理をしても全然グレートじゃねえや。
Whoa there, you could barely stand. There's nothing great about pushing yourself. Even Natsu was unsettled by this. Ryuria stopped by early, but she took one look at me and went home with a guilty look on her face. She's like, nope, I'm not dealing with that. Not that I blamed her. She couldn't work. I got her sick. I was fine, but I already was being a burden on the others.
ちょっと保健室に行こうかな。
I guess I'll go to the infirmary.
それを言うの、ちょっとレイトだよ。
It's a bit late to be saying that.
肩を貸すぜ。
I'll help you over.
あれ、クロッチ？
Huh? Kuroki? Oh, Kurokami. I turned around and saw her trying to enter the club room. She was staggering just as much as me. Yay, she made it. Suzuhara? Even though Suzumu's presence was supposed to ward off hauntings, the world distorted again the moment Toé saw him. But there was no macabre illusions this time. Instead, everything had gone monochrome and frozen in time. Yet Suzumu was still in vivid color for some reason. It was then that divine curse appeared before Toé.
我に感謝せよ、トエ。
Be grateful to me, Toé.
そなたのけなげな願いを叶えてやろうと思ったからこそ、今そなたはここにある。
You are here now because I decided to grant you your heart's desire.
Go away.
トエ、我の時は満ちた。
My time has come, Toé.
そなたの千年の苦しみから解放される時が来たのだ。
You shall you shall be released from your millennium of suffering.
お前を解放などするものか。I will never let you escape.
もはやそなたの身に我を封じ続けることはかなわぬ。
You can no longer hope to contain me.
そなたももうそれに気づいておろう。
Surely you've already realized as much.
その苦しみに耐え、千年の間この六神彦の御事の呪いを封じ続けてきたこと、褒めて使わすに値する。
You are most deserving of praise for having endured that torment to keep me, the curse of Rokugami Hiko no Mukoto, sealed away for 1,000 years.
だから我はそなたにこの最後の奇跡を与えたのだ。
That is why I bestowed upon you this miracle at your very
陸
end.
の末裔鈴原鈴に最後に一目会いたいというそなたの願いを叶えることでな。
I have granted your wish to see Mutsu's descendant, Suzumu Susahara, one last time before you pass.
わかっておる。本来ならばゆうべそなたの腹を破ってもよかった。
Do you not understand? I could have torn out your stomach last night had I so desired.
しかしそれではあまりにそなたの千年が報われぬと我は一昼夜を猶予したのだ。
But I allowed you another day, so your 1,000 years do not go unrewarded.
わかった。神の呪い。No, nobody asked you, you wretched curse.
おごりと受け取るならばそれもよし。
Scorn me as you will.
ただしこの時間さえも我の慈悲であることを忘れるな。
However, do not forget that I showed you mercy even in this very moment. The divine curse's eyes flashed scarlet, and the world darkened. Toé could tell her own soul would vanish forever the moment all went black. That was why, even though she tried to close off her heart, she couldn't.
二つの末語から好きな方をそなたに選ばせようぞ。
There are two ways your life can end. Choose your preference. Oh no.
一つ、我の行為を無下にし、このままろうそくの明かりが消えるように消えゆく末語。
One, you disregard my favor and fade away like a candlelight. Toé could never accept that. If her soul were obliterated right here and now, the divine curse would be released immediately. That would render her 1,000-year struggle to protect this land from calamities meaningless. Then the other option was
鈴原鈴とちぎりを交わすのだ。
lie with Suzumu Susahara.
そうできれば苦労は。If I did, it would be for nothing.
Toé took in the soot of whoever she laid with. That was why she'd been forced to take someone like Sho Kaminuma as her fiancé. He didn't have a trace of soot in him. So even though she was Suzunome's descendant and Suzumu was Mutsu's, they could not be together.
いずれにせよ、すすだきの秘術は明日の夜明けを待たずに破れる。
Either way, the seal would be broken by sunrise
なら
tomorrow.
ば最後の時くらい、千年を超えて再び出会えた運命の男と体を重ねて迎えたいとは思わぬか？
So do you not wish to at least greet your end in the arms of the man you have waited 1,000 years to see again?
Something warm and bashful welled up and spread throughout Toei's body. It was luscious and turned her legs to jelly. A false love brought on by the curse. The divine curse trying to make herself stronger by forcing her host to lie with a man who possessed even a bit of soot. So she awoke in the descendants of the sacrifice, feelings of love proportional to the amount of soot involved. Of course, that wasn't to say Suzumu wasn't charming in his own right, but the love Tsubakiko, Kanai, and Riria felt for him was in no small part due to the curse's whispers. Makes sense. So for Toei, who had the strongest most soot of them all, it was a nigh irresistible. Panting noises. Her breathing grew labored as her body heated up. Her body longed for Suzumu's heart. Oh no. Toei did everything in her power to resist those urges.
何をためらうのか、トエよ。
Why do you hesitate, Toei?
そなたがススハラスズムを抱こうと抱くまいと、この地を明日の最悪から守ることなどできぬのだ。
Whether you lie with Suzuhara or not, you cannot protect this land from the morrow's calamity.
It was a trap. The curse would grow stronger if she took in Suzumu's soot. If the calamity was inevitable, then the very least she could do was try to weaken it as much as possible. She wanted it. She wanted to embrace her duty. No, embrace Suzumu. Toei groaned as desire and reason waged war within her. How she wanted him, how her heart ached with love for him, how she longed to melt into his arms and lie with him. Toei broke out into a sweat, her knees giving way. She gazed longingly at Suzumu.
I'm melting away. I can't fight it back.
Toei crawled on the floor and slobbered as she begged Suzumu for help. The curse took advantage of that deep-rooted sensation every woman strove for in an effort to gain more soot. But Toei fought back desperately, with all the reason she had left.
No, I mustn't give in to this. But if the curse is going to be set free anyway... No, I can't give in to despair now. I can't surrender myself to the curse. I can't.
Toei writhed as she curled up into a ball and felt silent. That was all the resistance she could muster. The divine curse sneered.
Kurokami-san. 大丈夫?
Kurokami, are you alright? Just then Toei heard Suzumu's voice. Time was supposed to be stopped in the monochrome world, yet she heard it as clear as a bell. With that, Suzumu and Time resumed their movements, but the world remained colorless.
Kurokami-san. 具合悪いの?
Kurokami, you don't look very good.
I could say the same. You can barely stand on your feet.
The pair staggered toward each other, almost like they were suffering the same ailment.
君にどうしても
There's something
伝えたいことが
I need to tell you.
What is it?
僕が絶対に君を呪いから
I swear, I will save you.
救うか
This curse. Suzumu's body shook violently.
Suzumu!
おい大丈夫かよ肩を貸すぜ
Hey, are you okay? I'll help you up.
保健室に早く先生いるかな
Oh, I might confuse voices. It's okay.
We've got to get him to the infirmary. Please be there, Miss Hinagata.
Ha 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 ha. In her heart, Toei was a mess of laughter and sobs. Suzumu's words had moved her to tears. Her heart swelled with joy. She didn't know she was even capable of feeling this way anymore. But his words had stirred something she thought was long dead within her.
クロッチも大丈夫？
Hey, Kuroki, are you okay?
なんか足元ふらついてるし、無理に学校来なくてもよかったんじゃ。
You look like you're gonna collapse any second. You didn't need to force yourself to come to school. God, they're so dense. But so, you know, they're good. Good people.
クロッチ？
Kuroki? To Kanai, Toé sounded like she was just mumbling nonsense like always, but this time Toé was laughing with ecstasy and crying. Oh, that's weird. At that moment, Toé returned to the dark, monochrome world.
トエ、そなたの選択しかと受け取ったぞ。
Toé, it seems you've made your choice.
誇り高く最後まで生贄としてさらなるすすを拒むその矜持、見上げたものよ。
I have nothing respect for you, for your insistence on holding on to your pride as a sacrifice, and resisting the soot to the very end.
なれば明日の朝はおろか、今宵の月さえも待つ必要はあるまい。
So be it. I need no longer wait until tomorrow morning, least of all tonight's moon. The stones in Toei's stomach swelled and grew to gargantuan proportions. Her stomach was tearing from the inside out.
かなえ、椿子、リリア、3人の蓄えたすすはすでに我が身に取り込んだ。
I have already taken Kanai, Tsubakiko's, and Riru's soot for my own.
そしてそなたの体を得て、我は最悪の執行者となろうぞ。
Once I acquire your body, I shall bring forth the calamity.
だが、そなたがいらぬというなら、鈴原鈴のすすは我がもらい受ける。
However, since you've decided to do without it, I shall take Suzumu Suzuhara's soot for myself.
あの3人のすすを集めたのは
I knew it. I knew you'd taken their soot.
雛形のすすはないけれど、今ほとんどのすすはお前に集まっている。
Even without Hinagata's, you still have nearly all of it.
雛形真由とは巡り合わせ悪く、運命の歯車が合わなかった。
Unfortunately, the gears of Mayu Hinagata's fate did not align with all the others.
あれもまた、そなたらと同じ弱いであったなら、我の声が届いたものを。
Had she but been the same age as you, my voice would have reached her. Hinagata was a grown woman who made it through adolescence. It was difficult for the divine curse and hauntings to instigate adults due to their heightened spiritual defenses or the loss of sync with their spiritual channels. But then what's the DLC? I don't know.
しかし、問題はない。
But it matters not.
その分のすすは、鈴原鈴の生き肝よりもらう。そなたの爪と歯を使ってな。
I shall use your claws and fangs to rip equivalent soot out of Suzumu Sahara's guts. Panting noises.
お気の毒だけど、すべてがあんたの思い通りになると思ったら、間違いよ。
I hate to break it to you, but if you think everything's gonna go as planned, you're surely mistaken.
何を言い出す？
Whatever do you mean?
もう呪いを封じ込むことはできない。そうね。あんたの価値よ。それは間違いない。
I can no longer seal the curse away. I can no longer seal the curse away. There's no doubt about that. I must admit you've won there.
でもね、
However,
あんたのその価値にまだいくばくかな。できる。いや、あ 風が残ってるんだから。
There's still a way for me to turn the tables and sour your victory.
ない。今よりお前の体は我のものとなる。
Impossible. I'm about to take your body for my own.
そなたにどのような企みがあろうとも、もはや瞬きの自由さえ与えぬ。
No matter what you're scheming, you haven't another moment of freedom left.
However, she'd fallen victim to hubris. She had remained a spectator because she was confident she could take over Toei's body at any time she pleased. Toei reached into her breast pocket with trembling fingers. Inside was the student name tag she never wore.
それで何ができるというのか。
And what do you plan to do with that?
こういうことができるの。
This! She unfastened the safety pin and after a moment's hesitation... Eek! Kanai shrieked and fell still. It was no surprise considering what just happened. She witnessed Toei stabbing herself deep under her left index finger's nail with the needle of her name card. Ow. Yeah. That would freaking hurt. It was so sudden, sharp. It was a sudden, sharp pain that few could possibly tolerate. Having a needle shoved under one's fingernails would cause anyone to squirm. It's almost like this writer has done this before. Her mother's letter had described it as a latch-stitch move to regain one's sanity in a pinch. She probably came up with it after getting hurt during a haunting and realizing she'd been released from it at that moment she was injured. In exchange for unbearable agony, Toei's stun had brought that world back to normality and dispelled the image of her divine curse. A human's essence was indeed in the soul, but while that soul was lodged in a body, it could not ignore what the body was telling it. Extreme pain in excess of the body's limits would temporarily override the prerogatives of the spirit. Hauntings and the divine curse were no exceptions to this. But despite all the pain, the reprieve could only last for so long. The world was slowly losing its color and becoming monochrome again as proof of this. I can't imagine if she's... What the heck's going on? Toei didn't even have a lot of time. She needed to accomplish her goal in what little of it she had left. Now that she'd met with Suzumu and talked with him, she had no more regrets. She was ready.
大丈夫？
Kuroki? Are you okay?
はよ。なら
I'm well.
みんな元気。
I wish you all well.
ちょっと。おーい。
Hey, wait! Toei staggered down to the hallway while groaning in agony. Kanai was too stunned by the abrupt turn of events to move. All she could do was watch as Toei disappeared out of sight. Only a trail of blood remained to mark where she had gone. God, how freaking... Ooh, that under nail.
大丈夫よ。これは病気じゃないわ。疲れすぎね。
Oh, ow, 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 ow. Just imagining that. Ooh, he's not sick, just overexerted. Hinagata smiled as she laid Suzumu in a bed.
疲れすぎ？
Overexerted?
最近、ススハラ君は親善武術のお稽古を少し頑張りすぎてたんじゃない？
Has he been pushing himself a bit too hard with his training in the Suzahara divine tribute style?
ああ、それは確かに。
Oh, now that you mention it.
先日も雨が降る中、ぶっ倒れるまでやってて、私すっごい心配したんだから。
He trained in the rain yesterday until he collapsed. I was so worried.
おいおい、そりゃグレートが過ぎるぜ。
Oh, that's why I call great too great.
そうかな。
Really?
一眠りしたら少しは楽になるはずよ。
You should feel better after a little sleep.
しばらくおとなしく目をつむっていなさい。
Just get some shut-eye, okay?
All right.
It wasn't long before Suzumu dozed off. Tsubahiko and Natsuya smiled and shrugged as if they say they'd worried too much. Once they left, Hinagata turned back to Suzumu.
ついにやったのね。
You've finally done it, haven't you? Hinagata smiled and gently stroked Suzumu's cheek.
神の呪いを打ち破るには、神の奇跡を宿すしかない。
Only a divine miracle can destroy the divine curse.
その力は人の身にはあまりに過ぎたもの。
But that power is too much for a human body.
神の呪いを打ち破ることはできるかもしれないけれど、
You may be able to destroy the divine curse, but
僕に何が起ころうと覚悟してます。
no matter what happens, I'm ready for it.
鈴原君、
Hara. Suzumu hadn't been sleeping. Hinagata was a bit surprised, but quickly regained her cool.
あなたは何者なの？
Just what are you?
鈴原鈴夢で神前武術の継承者で、
I am Suzumu Suzahara, successor to the divine tribute style.
そして陸奥の生まれ変わりなんだと思います。
Also, I think I'm Mutsu's
それ
reincarnation.
は大体想像できてるわ。
I suspected as much.
その上でなお思ってるの。
I meant beyond that.
あなたは何者なの？
What are you?
わからないです。
陸奥の執念は確かに奇跡に届くほどのものだったけれど、それでも彼は人間。
Mutsu was certainly tenacious enough to attain a miracle, but regardless, he was still human.
あなたは陸奥の血は引いていても人間であることに変わりはないはず。
Though you're his descendant, that shouldn't make you anything greater than that.
でもあなたは
Yet you're... After a pregnant pause, Hinagata suddenly smiled and stood
な
up.
るほどね。あなた
I see. So you're
僕は
mine.
内緒。
That's my little secret.
意地悪です。
That's not fair.
あなたにとってはあなたが誰であるかなど問題じゃないわ。
Who you are isn't a problem for you.
あなたは鈴原鈴夢。そしてあなたの運命はあなたが決める。
You're Suzumu Suzuhara, and you decide your own fate.
あなたが望むようにあなたの運命をあなたが切り開きなさい。
So you can carve yourself the path you want.
先生こそ何者なんですか？
I should ask you the same. Just what are you?
私グラマラスでミステリアスな鈴田高校の保健室の主。
Me? I'm the glamorous and mysterious master of Susanna's high infirmary.
そして5つ子の邪法でトエちゃんとは別に鈴の目の血を受け継ぐ呪い元神社の生贄の末裔。
And I am also a descendant of Suzanome, the sacrifice of Norimoto Shrine, and I am one of the bloodlines resulted from the quintuplet spell.
そして多分おそらく
And most likely,
私はあなたの妹。
I'm your younger sister. Wow, wow. Twist.
意味がわからないです。
I don't understand.
いいのよ忘れて。
It's fine. Forget about it.
今は少しでも体を休めなさい。もうじき峠を越すと思うから。
Just rest as much as you can for now. You'll cross the peak soon enough.
はい。
Alright. Hinagata could see it. The brilliant flame in Suzumu's chest was pouring into his fists. Those fists shone sublimely with the miracle of a god. It wouldn't be long before the 1,000-year journey undertaken by Mutsu and his descendants took shape in Suzumu's fists. Ooh. Toé walked on unsteady feet as she battled the pain in her stomach and the agony under her fingernail. Seeing Toé moaning and staggering was nothing new to the townsfolk. They pretended not to see anything and cleared the way so they didn't have to get mixed up with her. Jesus Christ. Of course, Toé didn't look at them or the townscape either. No one, they kept shifting back and forth between their regular forms and monsters with practically each blink of the eye. However, the disordered world was slowly but surely winning the battle.
小賢しい真似を。
You crafty little wench.
しかしいつまでもそのような真似続けられはせぬぞ。
Do not think those tricks will work forever. Go away. Toé pricked herself into the nail of her left ring finger. When dealing with intense pain, the body aligns all its senses at once. But it still isn't enough. The divine curse was still there. She needed something deeper, sharper. Ugh.
無駄な努力を
A wasted effort. Toei's pain was like dirt in the eye to the divine curse. She grimaced in discomfort and disappeared along with the disordered world, but Toei knew by now this would only buy her so much time. Her left hand was already red with the trickling of blood. The same went for the doll she was clutching with said hand. The pain pulsed with each beat of her heart. It felt like her fingertips had swollen and ruptured, and just when the pain became tolerable, the divine curse reappeared and sneered. But Toei still had fingers to spare. If that wasn't enough, she could give up her eyes if she had to. Oh god, no. Finally, Norimoto Shrine came into view. The shrine built not for celebration, but solely to keep the curse sealed. Toei casually hid her hand, so no one noticed. She couldn't afford any obstacles to her plan, not at this point. After all, she only had so many fingers. Toei headed for the main hall. Her thoughts turned to the letter left by her mother and grandmother. This was a mockery that spanned 1,000 years, though it appeared the humans had sealed away the curse with the soot-gathering spell. Over the course of millennium, the curse gathered more soot and grew. It was likely far more powerful than the curse Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto had reigned on the village 1,000 years prior. This curse was man's punishment. It accrued interest in exchange for being put off for so many years, and now the time has come to pay the price. Though their millennium of suffering may not have been prevented, the coming disaster, Toei wanted to protect this land for as long as she could. Otherwise, she and her ancestors would have suffered for nothing. What's more, she couldn't help but laugh at this result.
けなげに己を痛めながらどこを目指すかと思えば
I must admit, I was curious where your gallant acts of self-harm were going.
そなたたちを鈴の目にすすだきの邪法を執り行ったあの梵鐘の前とは
But I never imagined that you, of all of you, would be heading for the bell where I was sealed inside Susanome.
もしやそなたはその身を梵鐘に封じようというのか
Did you be planning to seal your body inside it as well?
お前は呪いという超越の存在だけれど
You may be a transcendent being.
この1000年の間唯一お前を隔てることができたものがある
There's one thing that managed to block you out over these 1,000 years.
すすだきの邪法の梵鐘か
The bell where the ritual was performed? The divine curse furrowed her brow for the first time. Though her smile was confident, her eyes held a twinge of concern.
呪いの鈴は梵鐘に封じられて生贄に全てを吸収された
The cursed soot was sealed into the bell and absorbed by the
つま
sacrifice.
りお前は梵鐘に隔てられたら外へ出ることはできない
In other words, once you're trapped inside the bell, there is no escape.
そなたは一つ忘れておる梵鐘がどのような形か知らぬと見える
You seem to be forgetting something quite vital. Do you not see the state of that bell?
分かってるそれでもお前の目論みを少しでも邪魔することはできる
I do, but all that matters is that I can stop your plans, even if it's just for a moment longer.
小賢しいや鈴の目の末裔め
How impudent of you, accursed descendant of Susan Monet. The bell used for the ritual had the power to trap the cursed soot. That was why the sacrifice was able to absorb the entirety of the curse over 3 days and nights without any leaking out. But though the bell itself could seal the soot, the ground and floor beneath it was a different story. While the bell could seal the soot from above, it could eventually leak from below, but it was still a better outcome than simply surrendering herself to the curse. The divine curse wanted nothing more than to bring about an unparalleled calamity to this land. If Toei could weaken her in some way,
無駄なことを
you're wasting your time.
そなたらが1000年をかけて一時しのぎを繰り返したように そなたもまた一時しのぎに命を捧げるのか。
Your sacrifice will merely be delaying the inevitable, just as your 1,000-year struggle
そ
has.
の一時しのぎが私たちの使命
It is still our duty.
愚か者か。
You fool.
Toé pricked herself again, and the divine curse faded from view. The curse mocked her as she went, but she could no longer hide the concern from her face. Toé groaned in agony. Her whole left hand was pounding like a giant heart. Though the pain was intense, it wasn't as harrowing as it had been at first, and was gradually dulling into a burning throb. Her body was getting used to the pain. She didn't have long. She had to hurry. Toé crawled under the temple bell, hanging from the rope. It was pitch black and painfully deafening on the inside. Toé sat up straight and calmed her heart.
ゴミも豊作
Heartfelt awe and reverence do I speak these words of worship before Norimoto's shrine. When Toé started chanting that prayer, a faint creak filled the silent space. Though she couldn't see it, it was the sound of the bundle of rice plants holding the bell up starting to tear. The heavy bell began to sway a little.
やめよ愚か者。このようなところに我を閉じ込めたとて最悪は変わらぬ。
Cease this at once, you fool. Try as you may. Try me. The calamity will come all the same.
それよりも我と共にそなたやそなたらに理不尽な千年を強いた非当にどもに今こそ復讐をする時ぞ。
Reconsider. Join me and take your vengeance on those man demons who forced the millennium of suffering all on you.
狼の色きな月に恵みをかたじけなに祭り高き尊き見教えの谷間に
The gods' bountiful blessings are more than I deserve. Their exalted teachings I do follow.
梵鐘を落として消えるように眠れると思うか娘。
Do you think I will simply give up and disappear once the bell drops? You impotent child.
梵鐘の中で我はそなたの腹を内から破りてよみがえる。
I shall tear through your stomach and be born anew.
無論今わしき梵鐘の外へ出るには短からぬ年月をかけよう。だがそれまでを退屈して待つつもりはない。
Naturally, it'll take some time to escape the confines of this lonesome bell, but I shall not wait in tandem.
我に最後まで立てついたそなたを無限に引き伸ばした時間の中でこの暗く狭い梵鐘の中で永遠に慰み者にしてくれる。
I shall make use of your constant meddling to make you my plaything for all eternity as punishment for your persistent defiance.
正しき真心のちで誠の道に多うことなく追いのつまさに励ましにたまり
With honest and righteous devotion, shall I not stray off the path of man. I shall endeavor through the duties I pursue.
我に逆らいて何の得がある。トエ、鈴の目。
What reward do you believe your resistance shall bless you with? Toé, Suzanome?
我と共にこの地に災いをもたらそうぞ。そなたの千年の苦しみも我が慰めてやろうぞ。
Bring calamity to this land with me. I shall ease your 1,000 years of
だ
suffering.
がそれを断るというのならばさらに千年を我がそなただけをいたぶり抜いてくれる。
But reject me, and you shall find naught but another millennium of suffering at my hands.
この千年そなたを見てきたぞ。そなたが何に最も苦しみ何に最も恥ずかしめられたか我は全てを知り尽くしておるのだ
I
ぞ。
have watched you for 1,000 years. I know each and every way and how best to torment you, how best to bring you pain.
それを全てくれてやる。もてあそんでやる。なぶってやる。おぞましさに腹渡を吐き出してもなお。
How will I subject you to them all? How I will toy with and persecute you. Even when you vomit your guts out from revulsion, I shall not
そ
stop.
なたが死をもって救いを求める嘆きが1000年間こだまするまでそれでも良いのか
You shall yearn for the release of death for a millennium to come and lament.
Do you truly desire such a fate?
この1000年お前がそれほど悲痛に叫ぶのは初めてだな
This is the first time I've heard you so desperate in the past 1,000 years.
それだけでお前の言う1000年小気味よく過ごせそうだ
In that case, the next 1,000 years might just be worth it.
この愚か者が
You fool!
もう一度ムツに会いたくないか肌を重ねたくはないか
Do you not wish to see Mutsu again? Do you not wish to lie with him?
そなたの肉体は直ちに滅ぼされもう奇跡さえも願えなくなるのだぞ
Your body will soon be destroyed. There will be no hope for any miracles.
As long as humans live, they can wish for any kind of miracle. That desire alone is what gives them hope to live on, not the actual granting of the wish. Even in the chain of suffering that began with Susanome, they had held out for 1,000 years because they were able to believe a miracle would come. Only those who have lived for a millennium could understand the fear of having even that hope crushed. Even so, Toé did not falter. That was her pride as the girl who'd been sacrificed to the divine curse.
奇跡さえも願えなくなるだと哀れな呪いね
There would be no more hope for miracles. You poor curse.
奇跡ならもう叶っている
My miracle has already been granted.
小賢しや小賢しや恨めしや恨めしや
You impotent man demon! I'll make you regret this.
トエ鈴の目
Toé Susanome. I can't speak. Toei's thoughts turned to Mutsu, Suzumu. He was 10 years too late, 100 years too late, 1,000 years too late. However, she was still so happy she got to see him again. Yeah. Take a break there. Woohoo!